No one at Riverside Middle School paid much attention to the tall, broad-shouldered man walking through the front gates that Thursday morning. He wore a faded olive green jacket, jeans worn at the knees, and boots that had seen better days. In his right hand, he carried a lunchbox that had a few dents in it. In his left, he held the small, nervous hand of his daughter, Lily. Jack Morris had learned long ago to keep his head down. As a former soldier and now a single dad, life had been about surviving day to day, working at the local repair shop, making sure Lily had what she needed, and ignoring the whispers from parents who thought they knew his story. Truth was, they didn't. No one knew about the sleepless nights, the nightmares that sent him pacing the hallway at 3 a.m., or the quiet tears Lily thought she hid when she heard kids make fun of her second-hand clothes. He didn't tell anyone that her mother had left when Lily was 4, unable to handle the challenges of a man who had come home from war but never quite returned. That morning, Lily kept looking up at him, her bright hazel eyes full of something, between excitement and dread. "You don't have to walk me in, Dad," she mumbled. Jack smiled faintly. "And miss the chance to see you conquer another day?" "Not a chance, soldier." He always called her that, not because he wanted her to be in the military, but because he wanted her to know she was tougher than she thought. They stopped by the front entrance, where Lily spotted her best friend Emily, waiting with her backpack slung low. The two girls hugged quickly, whispering something that made them giggle, and then Lily waved goodbye to her father. Jack turned toward the sidewalk, already thinking about the oil changes and brake repairs waiting for him at the shop. He had taken just 3 steps when a sound froze him. It was the sharp, ugly tone of mockery, the kind that made his muscles tighten instantly. He turned and saw a scene unfolding near the bike racks. A group of boys, maybe 13 or 14, had circled around a much smaller girl. She stood stiff, clutching a notebook to her chest, her long dark hair partially hiding her face. One of the boys shoved her shoulder, making her stumble. Jack didn't know her. He didn't know her name, where she came from, or why she wasn't fighting back. But something in the way her eyes darted, searching for an escape, triggered a memory. He hated being pinned down in a hostile zone, surrounded, nowhere to run. He walked toward them without even thinking. "Hey!" His voice cut through the laughter. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp, like a command. The boys froze. The tallest one, clearly the leader, tried to look unimpressed. "We're just messing around," he said, shrugging. Jack's eyes narrowed. "You call that messing around?" He stepped closer, his presence suddenly towering over them. "Looks more like you're trying to make yourself feel big by making someone else feel small," the leader snorted. "She's fine." "She apologize," Jack interrupted, his voice calm but leaving no room for argument. One of the smaller boys shifted nervously, looking at the girl. "Sorry," he muttered. The leader rolled his eyes but mumbled a reluctant apology. Jack crouched slightly so he was eye level with the girl. "You okay?" She nodded quickly, though her lips were pressed tight like she was holding back words. "Go on," Jack said gently, and she hurried inside the school without looking back. The boys scattered too, muttering under their breath. Jack stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of eyes on him. A couple of parents had seen the whole thing. One gave him a brief nod of thanks. The other looked uncomfortable, like she wasn't sure it was his place to interfere. Jack didn't care. He'd done what he'd do for anyone. Still, something about the girl's expression stayed with him there. Had been fear, yes, but also dignity, like she was used to holding herself together, even when under attack. That night he asked Lily about her. They were sitting at the small kitchen table, eating reheated chicken and rice. "Hey Lil, that girl I saw near the bike racks this morning, long dark hair, about your age, you know her?" Lily nodded, swallowing. "Yeah, that's Mia. She's new, just started last week. She in your grade?" "Yep, she's nice, but kinda quiet. Doesn't really talk about herself." Lily glanced at him curiously. "Why? I saw some boys giving her trouble." Lily's eyebrows shut up. "Oh, yeah, I've seen that too. They pick on her because she doesn't answer back. And because..." She stopped herself. "Because what?" Jack prompted. Lily hesitated, then shrugged. "Just because kids are mean sometimes." She tried to change the subject, but Jack could tell she was holding something back. Over the next few days, Jack saw Mia twice more, once leaving the school with a heavy backpack and once sitting alone on a bench near the park. Each time she looked like she was carrying more than just books. The following Friday, Jack got called in early to the repair shop, so he dropped Lily off at school before the first bell. He was just pulling away when he saw the same group of boys from before cornering Mia again, this time near the side fence. One had snatched her notebook, flipping through the pages and laughing. Jack's grip on the steering wheel tightened. Jack slammed the truck into park and stepped out, his boots hitting the pavement hard enough to turn a couple of heads. He crossed the schoolyard with a pace that said he wasn't going to negotiate. The boys didn't notice him until his shadow fell across them. The leader looked up, clearly annoyed. "Oh, it's you again." Jack didn't waste time. He plucked the notebook out of the boy's hands and gave it back to Mia. "You again," Jack said quietly. "Guess we didn't learn the first time." The boy puffed up his chest. "We're just having fun." Jack took a step closer, his voice low but dangerous. "Fun is when everyone's laughing." "Do you see her laughing?" The boy's mouth opened, then closed. "Now," Jack continued, "I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Life will hand you enough real fights without you having to invent them. So you'd better start learning the difference between strength and cruelty." The smaller boys shuffled their feet. The leader looked away, muttering another apology. Jack waited until they walked off before turning to Mia. She clutched her notebook to her chest like it was a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me," Jack said gently. "You deserve better than that." She hesitated, then gave the smallest of nods and walked quickly toward the school building. That afternoon, when Jack came to pick Lily up, he saw Mia again, but this time she was standing beside a tall woman in a pressed, dark blue uniform. The woman's posture was so straight it could have been carved from stone. She had sharp eyes, the kind that seemed to assess a person in seconds, and her hair was pulled back into a no-nonsense bun. The woman turned slightly, and Jack caught the glint of a row of medals on her chest. His stomach tightened, he recognized the style of the uniform instantly. Army, not just a soldier either. That was an officer's cut. Mia saw Jack and, for the first time, gave him a small smile. She said something to the woman, who then followed her gaze toward him. Their eyes met across the parking lot, hers steady and unreadable, his curious but cautious. Jack gave a polite nod. The woman returned it just barely, before turning away and guiding Mia toward a black SUV with tinted windows. That night, Lily was buzzing with gossip. "Dad, guess what? Mia's mom came to school today and everyone was talking about her. She's like super important in the army." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Yeah? How important?" "I don't know exactly, but Emily said her dad saw her on TV once, standing next to some big general in Washington." Jack's mind flickered with possibilities. He'd served under a few generals in his day, and the thought that this quiet girl was connected to that level of command was unexpected. Over the weekend, Jack couldn't shake the image of Mia's mother. The crisp uniform, the way she carried herself, it reminded him of the officers he'd once reported to, the kind who had the weight of entire missions on their shoulders. The next Monday, the school called him. It was the principal. "Mr. Morris, there was an incident at school today involving your daughter and another student. We'd like you to come in." Jack's pulse quickened. When he arrived, Lily was sitting in the office beside Mia. Both looked shaken. The principal explained that one of the boys from before had pushed Mia in the hallway, and Lily had stepped in, shoving him back. Words were exchanged, and it nearly turned into a fight before a teacher intervened. Jack looked at Lily. "You okay?" She nodded, but her chin trembled. "I wasn't gonna just let him—" "I know," Jack said softly. "You did good." As they were leaving, they ran into Mia's mother in the hallway. Up close, she was even more intimidating. Her uniform was flawless, her gaze sharp. "You're the man who helped my daughter," she said without introduction. Jack straightened instinctively. "Yes, ma'am, Jack Morris." Her eyes flickered as if the name meant something to her. "Colonel Sarah Bennett," she replied. Jack recognized the rank instantly. A colonel was no joke. I appreciate what you did, she continued, her tone formal but sincere. Mia doesn't talk much, but she mentioned you. That means something. Jake nodded. Kids should feel safe at school. That's all I was doing. She studied him for a moment longer, then gave a curt nod and walked away with Mia. Over the next week, Jack noticed small changes. The bullies seemed to back off, though whether it was because of him or because word had gotten around about Mia's mother, he couldn't say. One afternoon, he saw Mia sitting alone on the park bench again. He walked over, sitting on the far end, so she wouldn't feel crowded. You write a lot in that notebook, he said, nodding toward it. She hesitated, then said, It's stories about people who go through hard things and make it out okay. Jack smiled faintly. Sounds like you've met a few of those people. Her eyes met his for a brief moment, and in them he saw something: heavy loss, maybe, or loneliness. But before he could ask more, a black SUV pulled up to the curb and Colonel Bennett stepped out. Her gaze swept over Jack before settling on Mia. Time to go. Mia stood, giving him a quiet "Bye, Mr. Morris." Before leaving, Jack watched them drive away, a strange feeling in his chest. There was something about that family, a quiet strength, but also a distance, like they were always prepared to move on at a moment's notice. He didn't know yet that the next time he'd see Colonel Bennett, it wouldn't be in a school parking lot, it would be on a day when everything went wrong.